For your viewing pleasure, this broadcast of the Municipal Council meeting of Alpena is made possible by the funding provided by the City of Alpena. Thank you for your generosity.
Will you raise your right hands, please?
Mayor's in a photobomb.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the office of councilperson in and for the City of Alpena, County of Alpena, and State of Michigan, to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, can you come and sign up, please?
Thing about being left-handed.
Close enough on my clip. Good. Good evening and welcome to Alpena City Council meeting January 6, 2014. The roll, please.
Johnson?
Here.
Nielsen? Here. Nowak?
Here.
Sexton?
Here.
Walagora?
Here. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone had the opportunity to review the minutes from December 16th regular session and December 16th closed session. Any issues? Any modifications to the agenda this evening? Citizens appearing before council on agenda and non-agenda items shall be allowed 5 minutes to address their concerns. This is the only time during a council meeting that citizens are allowed to address the council. If you do so, please come to the podium and state your name and address for our records.
I'm Duffy Gorski, and my address is 746 State Avenue. And I'd just like to commend the council for allocating money to do a study of the beaches. I really appreciate that. If in any way I could be of help, I'd like to do that. I've been studying this stuff and have information might help.
Okay. Definitely.
My name is Cal Howard. We're at 329 Miller Street. Thank you for allowing me to address the council regarding the water rate tripling during the period of 8/15/13 through 11/26/13. Normal water was averaged between $64 and $71, and it tripled to $134 during the period the meter was installed. I asked for a printout for the year of 2013 to compare past bills with the current water rate issued by the city, Alpena Water, and Water Waste Utility. A notice was placed on my door stating that my toilets were leaking and a large amount of water was being utilized. I was given the dye strips to place in the toilet to detect any leakage. There wasn't any leakage, so I made an appointment to check out my water meter. After going through the whole house to check for any leaks, nothing was found. The worker suggested that I get a plumber to check out the house for leaking water. I had a friend who was an experienced plumber go through the house looking at all appliances, dishwashers, sinks, toilets, found the leaks. After contacting City Hall regarding my finding, I was given an appointment to meet with the manager of Water United Water to check out the meter and replace it. In the meantime, the water is to be shut off on 1/15/14. I started this issue on 12/23/13. I hope I can get some help to resolve this problem as soon as possible. Thank you for your consideration in this matter.
Thank you, Cal. No, I said thank you.
Oh.
Sorry.
All right, Matt.
Anyone else? I just have a brief, I'll spare the, I guess, the theatrics of going down there. I just wanted to introduce for anyone in the audience that hasn't had the opportunity or viewing, introduce Cindy Johnson, our newest member of council. Is it? Consent agenda this evening is bills to be allowed in the amount of, it's not on there.
Oh.
It's not on my page, I'm sorry. Oh, it's right here, I got it. Sorry. It's on, $488,434.91.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noak?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson?
Yes.
No announcements or public hearing this evening. Report of officers, a resolution number 2014-1, a resolution granting approval of an application for a neighborhood enterprise zone certificate for Thunder Bay Holdings LLC.
As you know, I came with a NEZ just a few weeks ago. The city has established the Neighborhood Enterprise Zone on October 6th of 2003. A neighborhood enterprise zone provides for the development and rehabilitation of residential housing by obtaining certificates for a period of time that provides exemptions from certain taxes. The city assessor will calculate the taxes to be levied, which are known as the Neighborhood Enterprise Zone tax. Thunder Bay Holdings LLC submitted an application on December 13th of this year, or of last year, for rehabilitation of an existing structure at 104 Water Street for a 12-year tax exemption. The application has been reviewed by Judge Shea, City Assessor, and Don Gilmet, City Building Official, and found to be favorable. Under Public Act 147, the State Tax Commission requires the governing body of the local governmental unit by resolution to approve the application for the Neighborhood Enterprise Zone certificate. If so approved, I will forward the resolution to the State Tax Commission within the required time period. The State Tax Commission will then review the application for compliance. The city assessor and all taxing units affected will be notified by certified mail if a certificate will be issued.
Just one question, Karen, that I got when I was reading through the resolution itself. It says with respect to the existing structure at 104 Water Street, but I think there's, earlier in that, there was an address of 210 and 212 North 2nd Avenue. Those were the actual properties to be?
Those are the properties of the building.
Okay.
When they applied to enter the program for rental development. However, the individual apartments have different address. They have
Okay.
been given the 104, and I think they're apartments A and B or something of that sort. Because the entrance is actually on Water Street to get up to them.
Okay.
And that's happened on some other buildings as well.
I just want to be sure.
Brad, what's the rationale for the abatement lasting 12 years?
That's what's allowed in law, for lack of anything else. It's the way it's been done. It's not a good explanation. In fact, when the last one was given, this will be the last one under our current grant. We said that if we do apply for funding again, whether it's in the downtown or out in the neighborhood, at that, well, I guess in the downtown, because in the neighborhoods there isn't an NEZ, we will present the council before any of those projects move forward with a revised NEZ application that would include a rating schedule for how many years, so that it will be based on factors. Usually it's things like investment, things like that. It's going to be a little trickier with NEZ because it's pretty much all you have is investment. And we've never had a variance required. There is not job creation from it because it's residential units. but we will look at that and present to council that, just like we have in the Thunder Bay zone, and we have with other abatement programs. We've set those criteria in a rating system, and we'll do the same.
Want to move for action on that?
Yes, we need to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Noah,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Walagora,
Aye.
Johnson,
Yes.
Nielsen.
Yes.
Thank you, Karen and Greg. Communications and petitions, we have Jim Clarich from Target Director of Economic Development, 2012-2013 year-end activity report and current year status report.
The report I provided to the city council a couple of weeks ago, I skipped around it a little bit, so I'd like to do is, there is some year-end reporting that is in that report, as well as current statuses and things that we're working on, so I'll be jumping around a little bit, but as previously supplied back in, I want to say it was in August or early September, our loan activity for 2013 was a little bit behind 2012. But that, I say, is probably in quantity, but in quality of the loans, we provided a lot stronger, what I feel were stronger loans, and and larger loans, and they were more highly capitalized. Another thing I outlined was overall employment opportunities increased this past year across all of our business sectors. One thing that is still troublesome is from an industrial standpoint, our industrial manufacturers are struggling regionally to find the skilled workers they need, and that's either that they don't exist or they're not engaging, one of the two, and they are doing considerable amount of recruiting outside of the region. I want to note that is not, let's say, confined to Northeast Michigan. That's really a statewide problem. One of the other bullet points in there was we continue to work with the county and the state concerning the FAA and unmanned aerial system test site proposal. We all know the outcome of that from last Monday. We were unsuccessful in getting a test site designation for the state of Michigan. However, one of the items that I outlined in there, it's important to note that the success shouldn't be measured by the receipt of the designation, but the longer-term packaging and ultimate commercial use of that asset. That is the plan. There are really two outcomes of the state's application for a test site, and that is we win one and we lose one. We ended up losing one, but that opportunity or that problem, we made plans encompassing both outcomes. So we'll continue to work on the marketing of that project. We also are entertaining a substantial amount of commercial interest in the M32 corridor, as well as additional locations within the city. I outlined there are a lot of rumors flying around potential projects. We hear them every day. We're pretty confident that some of those things will become realities in the first 6 months of 2014, at least from an announcement standpoint. And we'll continue to work on those as we move along. We're also working with the township, the city on those projects, and we're working with numerous private and government entities regarding alternate travel routes in and around the 32 corridor. In November, we participated in a site selection conference in Chicago that the MEDC sponsored, where we had the ability and the opportunity to meet with about 20 of the most influential site selectors in the Midwest. They traditionally are industrial in nature, and the insight and what we learned on that visit as far as how we are viewed is I think I outlined in the report, as being priceless, and it will really serve as the basis of how presentations that we provide either to site selection consultants or the companies directly will be formatted. So it was a tremendous opportunity, and we're very happy we participated in that event. Another important lesson that we've learned over the last couple of years is whether it's industrial in nature or whether it is commercial in nature, is those entities are looking at us from a regional perspective. And I'll give you, for instance, if it's a commercial retailer, they're coming into town and they're saying, what is your regional draw? What is your regional demographic profile for 60 miles? They're not looking at us as 10,000 residents. They're looking at us as the economic and commercial hub that we are, which is really a 60-mile radius. So they're looking at it and saying that's 85,000 people. And really that's the message that we need to be broadcasting back to them. And like I said, that's whether it's industrial or commercial in nature. We need to do a really good job of communicating that message back to them. In keeping with that, moving into 2014 from our organizational standpoint, one of our top priorities is to construct regional relationships that involve not only obviously Alpena from a city perspective, but Alpena County, Presque County, Montmorency County, Alcona County. That encompasses that 60-mile circle. And we need to have the ability, and we need to be speaking or taking the steps, one at a time, to make sure certain that we're all on the same page, that we're all working towards the same end, and we don't miss any opportunities. And so I think going into 2014, you're going to see us, I won't say a shift, but a little bit of a transition from us taking on a little bit more of a regional approach and a regional interest. And that's in keeping really with the language the guys want us to be speaking back to them. So anyway, thank you. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Go ahead, please. Is it fair to say that the changes that you're making and the success that you're seeing are reflected in the web pages?
In our web pages, a little bit. I mean, that's just getting going. I think right now our success, I can base it on, is number one is it's proactive and not reactive. It's we're not waiting for the phone to ring. If you look at the commercial interest that we're experiencing around the city, I'd say probably 75, 80, 90% of that is because we reached out to the companies. We reached out to them, we reached out to the site selection people, and we say, hey, we're Alpena, this is who we are, and this is why we matter, and we can tell that story. There's really, when you look at it, 3 major markets in northern Michigan. There's Traverse City, there's Gaylord, and there's us. And while those guys have been, I'll say this, to a certain degree, successful in telling their story, I don't think that we've necessarily been as successful as telling our story, and that's what we're doing, is we're going to make sure that that everyone that we can tell about Alpena and Northeast Michigan is getting the word.
Part of my job here on council is sitting on the target board, and I have to say I think you're doing a fine job.
Thanks, Susan. Thank you very much.
2 quick questions.
Sure.
In the past, it seemed a hard sell to sell Alpena as a regional hub. And you just mentioned that prospective employers are starting to look at it as a region. Do you have a guess as to why that shifted?
Well, I'll look at it. You mean as far as employers go? If it's whether it's industrial, I guess in nature, everybody kind of looks at it and says, well, in northern Michigan, and I'll say just not Northeast Michigan, they look at it and they're saying everybody drives an hour to get somewhere. I mean, and I think, people with the right jobs and the right opportunities, I think they understand that people are willing to drive, an hour. I look at the leakage, what I assume is leakage out of the city, because if you walk into Gaylord and go to Kohl's or Bed Bath & Beyond or Jay Sporting Goods and you ask them, where do your shoppers come from? And I did it. 49707. That's exporting money, and that's not, I would rather have that money imported. And that's the idea. That's the idea.
Along the same lines, you mentioned industrial employers looking for employees outside of the area.
That's right.
Are these like CNC operators and machinists
Yes.
and those types of jobs?
They are. They are. And to a certain degree, I think there's still a lot of very highly skilled folks that are here in the region. I don't know if they're necessarily engaged. And I've always tried to broadcast that if there's someone that wants to learn a skill, I mean, it's easy to say, hey, there are no jobs. Well, the jobs today are a little bit different than just saying I'm going to walk into work and I'm going to do some general labor. Employers want specific skills. They want to remunerate you for those specific skills. That's how you're paid. So if I can identify what your interest is, what the employers want, there's an opportunity at every level to either be trained at ACC, to be trained by an employer, to learn that skill and be engaged. And really, that's the message we want to broadcast to everyone.
Be open to maybe working at the college to create some excitement in those programs. Because honestly, those programs were way down in numbers, which partly explains why that workforce, isn't coming up and coming through.
Yeah, part of it, I think, too, is that, if you look at it from an ACC standpoint, they're kind of dependent, or a bit dependent on high school. And I don't believe that those, some of those interests that people are grow into or are born with need to be nurtured along through that part of the educational process, and I don't see that happening there anymore. I see them, getting their primary studies and that kind of thing done from a vocational standpoint. I don't think it exists anymore. So that may be part of the struggle that they're experiencing at ACC.
Well, Jim, we all certainly are impressed with your work, to say the least. And at Intergovernmental, when you walk in the room and 8 townships in the entire county and the city of Alpena, everyone knows you. It's a good resounding fact that you're working very well and collaborating with everybody. I'm assuming that when you say we in your presentation, you mean all of us, and the city, our planner, our staff, and the county, and everyone else.
That's right. I mean, one of the things that we talked about, in the chamber, and we talked about it a little bit at Intergovernmental, is where we have a culture of yes, where we want the development, we want things to be better, we want more employment opportunities. The second part of that, as I tried to describe at Intergovernmental the other night, was the culture of us, and which is all of us, and really that's what we really have to grasp is, hey, we're the city, we're a township, we're a county, we're a region, and all of us need to be working on that extension, I guess. Great. And making sure that we're broadcasting the appropriate message to the right folks.
From what I understand, you're going to get another opportunity to do that in May.
That's what I heard.
And I'm very happy with that, by the way, too, because I kind of chuckled, and Bill will back me up on this. It was my group that actually had put out, what are the objections to growing Alpena? This has been a subject that I've actually proposed 3 times in a row at the intergovernmental meeting. And it's one of those I'm kind of excited about, and I said to Jim that I'm sorry that immediately it was like, yes, we need Jim to come back in and give us a presentation. It's my thoughts that if we're looking to grow the area, we first have to understand exactly what the objections are. Once we uncover those, it's also my plan is to have each individual government entity to kind of work on those objections separately to understand what we believe it is, either in a workshop session of some kind where we can put a list together of what we see and how we feel we can overcome those, and have every other group do the same. I think it's a good thing we can all work on together, and that kind of promotes the culture of us.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Thank you.
Give this to those fine-looking children there for me.
Thank you.
No unfinished business. We have new business this evening. First up is an appointment of Mayor Pro Tem. Open that up for discussion. We did, I had a brief conversation with Greg earlier as far as what the actual structure is for appointing Mayor Pro Tem. Because the charter basically says that it's appointed by City Council. Pretty much leaves it at that. I can only use experience from when I first got elected, and in speaking with Mayor Shafto, she gave me some of her points of view on what the Mayor Pro Tem is, what that person does, and how the relationship of council and the mayor should be. And she basically just kind of gave me a little foresight into how she did it, which was basically just she made a recommendation, if you will, or made her spiel for who she wanted. How our council wants to do that doesn't have to follow that means. I didn't bring my charter, but basically the Mayor Pro Tem, by by charter, just fulfills the responsibility of mayor in my absence at anything, whether that's a meeting here or a meeting somewhere else or a presentation, or I've asked Sam to, if I got an invitation to something, and I couldn't make it, I would ask him if he would go in my place, that kind of thing. So there are some, responsibilities, so to speak, that Sam did very well for me when he was here. So I'll leave it open for discussion of how the council would like to proceed on that. I don't know if you see the parliamentary procedure, if you perceive it any different, or if you have any input on how that.
No, it's just somebody would make a motion for whoever they wish to serve as mayor pro tem, and if it's seconded and then voted on and their majority vote, they would become mayor pro tem.
In parliamentary procedure, then, would you ask that we nominate someone?
Yes.
I nominate Sean Sexton.
I second.
Well, in discussion.
Okay.
I do want to have some discussion because I hadn't brought this up to Sean at all prior to this evening, so and forgive me if I'm a little hesitant. I guess my relationship with Sean professionally here at council hasn't been the greatest over the last several years. I would certainly had liked to have gotten the opportunity to talk to Sean about a nomination, but I hadn't. So I have at times, as everyone here is aware, questioned his conduct at our meetings. But with that said, if the council feels that he has conducted himself properly, then that will be your vote for sure. I would want to ask Sean if he will be available for functions, for any functions, good morning, Alpena breakfast, or dinners, or anything like that you might be able to attend. Okay.
If I need to support my nomination, I would say he has the experience. He has education. He certainly knows how to run a meeting. Certainly knows how our meetings go. He knows all of us and has had a personal experience with all of us on council. And I feel he's very well qualified. I would hope the rest of the council would see it that way too.
I would just like to add to that we're a pretty young council, and 2 years and younger on all of us. Sean has sat for a long time. I think he has the experience that some of us don't to be mayor pro tem.
Has Karen, in the past, and I think the mayor touched on this somewhat, has it typically been a nomination strictly from council, or has the mayor made recommendations in the past?
The mayor tends to make a recommendation, or tends to, know who they would like.
He can't physically nominate, but he can make a nomination. I mean, he can't make a motion, but he can actually let the council know who.
Yeah, and I did find out today you could make a motion, but normally they don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had actually I've read up on being able, what I have to do in order to make a motion and such, and never really felt the need to at any particular meeting. I always just leave it to one of you guys to make motions on anything. So arguably, I don't think any mayor in any recent history has used that ability. And I didn't intend to this evening. I do have preference for Mayor Pro Tem, and I made that clear to all the council in an email earlier this week. But
Just so you know, I didn't get that email. My email account isn't
oh, your
set.
email account hasn't started.
Right.
I basically just outlined a few. I recommended Councilman Nowak, and I like his demeanor. He's very well known in the city. I honestly think he's attended enough meetings to be able to to run a city council meeting or IG or anything else. He's professional and casual at the same time. I like how he, since he was elected, he shows up 20 minutes early for every one of our meetings and introduces himself and to everyone that comes in. I think that's very professional. It's something that I haven't even done, and sets him aside. He already attends a lot of functions already, just as a councilman. So that was my argument for him, and he and I obviously have a better professional relationship. One thing that's a little bit different than what I was told by past mayors is that the mayor pro tem and the mayor should have similar views and things of that nature. I really don't think that's necessary, so to speak, because when we come to a meeting, we conduct ourselves and we vote completely separate regardless of what our position here is on. And so that was pretty much where I was, but I could call Sam quite frequently when necessary earlier in my term and ask him if he wouldn't show up for things of that nature. So it just made it easier having a better working relationship. It's obviously, like I said, it's no big secret that Sean and I don't communicate well at times. So that was my recommendation. But there again, it's a council appointment, and I'll stand by whatever way it goes.
Can I tell a story? No, it's eerily similar to when Carol Shafter first became mayor, and he mentioned getting some advice from her, where she had to make that mayor pro tem appointment, and Mike and I sat there as fairly new people, and I think she didn't spend 10 seconds on, well, they're brand new, I'm not going to appoint them. The most experienced councilman at the time was Councilman Karchnick. And I think anybody who knows the history knows that Shafter and Karchnick did not get along, did not see eye to eye. And I think Carol looked at that and thought that might be difficult, and he by far had more experience than the rest of us. And it's not a right-hand man type of a thing. That's not how that works. As the mayor mentioned, it's to fill in if he's not available, if he's not there, if he's not present, and that's happened very rarely anyway. So Carol was able to work with Dave in that capacity, and I think we were the better for his experience and the relationships that he had. So if it makes anybody feel any better, Carol and Dave pulled it off. You know, I don't think it'd be an issue, and again, it's not a right-hand man type of thing anyway. So.
And I will point out just briefly that I'm not comfortable talking negatively about people. It's just not my thing. And Sean and I have been capable of being professional here at council meetings and in public. So it's not like we bash. We're fine professionally. So I doubt that that's a major concern. So.
But I don't know how the rest of council feels, but to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't want to be on city council so I could get some more friends. I wanted to work for the city of Alpena. And I feel that we all do that in different ways, but we all do that. And we all work well together when it's necessary. And I think we all have each other's backs at one time or another. I can't imagine the two of you not being able to be professional and get your job done.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
So I don't want to drag it on too long. I guess,
Well,
so.
I'll just say, I agree with Susan in the regards that, my goal is to make a positive difference in the life of everybody in the city of Alpena. And wherever it's possible, I want to make their path to success easier to walk. That's my goal, I appreciate the nomination, and the, I guess you would call it, faith that you have in me. The reason that I do the things that I do is because I often believed that when I was running for office, that it's easy to talk about transparency in government, but I swore that I was going to live it. That's why I'm here early. I'm going to remain early outside of the door. I've got public meetings scheduled. I'm going to hold another one on January 18th where everyone can come and talk to me and tell me what their concerns are for the city. So that will continue regardless of today's vote. Obviously, I do believe that I'm well qualified for the job as well. I've run I've run many different meetings for my company.
Good. Call the roll, please.
Sexton,
I'm sure.
Walagora,
No.
Johnson,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Noah,
No.
Okay. Council member appointments and board committees. This one, I always want to spend more time on it than we do. Just in the event, just to kind of make sure, especially for Cindy, actually even for myself at times, I don't know if someone was able to describe what all of these committees entailed prior to tonight, especially Sam's, in the event that you might take most of Councilman Eilers.
Right, that was my question, is how to divide these up. I was told that most people like to stay where they are, and that's fine. And I'm just assuming that I'll pick up what Sam.
Yeah.
I think there's a few that would probably change around. I know that, I've got some that I have some interest in that other council people work on, and I did ask both Sean and the mayor what the procedure would be, and said that if there's interest in both, that, what was it, Sean, put a name in a hat or draw names out or whatever we can do to decide, so, because I wanted to understand what the procedure would be as well. When I came in the spring, there was a few that I was interested in, but I was newer and wanted to make sure that we had everything filled and such, but I am been with the council now for a year, and there are some things that I definitely have some interest in.
What are you interested in that you don't sit on?
I think that, well, just right before we get to that, I think there's something to be said, and I think Susan did once before, maybe it wasn't at a meeting, but said that sometimes the continuity, if that's the correct term, of being on a board and getting the schedule of when their meetings are and everything all clear is, and staying on that schedule is easier for people once they get their groove in, I guess. And then something to be said about changing it up, because each of us are equally qualified to sit on any of the boards and committees, but to change it up sometimes to get a fresh face on the board from council. Whether any of the committees that I'm on have been wanting a fresh face or not, I don't know, but, to get somebody different in there, just to get different ideas from council onto those committees, has a certain value as well. So bouncing around and not being on a committee for 4 years, there might be something to say. I guess how about we establish something before we go too much further, that if there is in fact a council or a committee that two people want to be on, how will we handle that as a committee without going through what we just did? To say, are we willing to say, okay, put your names in a hat? Are we willing? I don't really,
We do it at home.
do you want to play rock, paper, scissors? Just as long as it goes quick enough, I think maybe a name in a hat might be professional enough.
Well, I think it should go a little deeper than that. If you've already created a relationship on a certain board that you're on, a good relationship there, and you have some history with this board, and you've cleared your schedule for that board, that is a huge thing, for everybody's busy. But if you clear your schedule for this board, it's on your calendar for the next year. And I would like to stay with the things that I'm on. I enjoy being the alternate for the sanctuary. But, I would certainly give that up if somebody else would like to be the alternate for the sanctuary. But the hunt team and the target board, and certainly the medical marijuana committee, which doesn't meet often, there isn't an issue right now. But those are things that I've worked on, and I would like to stay on them.
And I guess part of an argument for that is that no one here, you pointed out that we're all pretty young, no one here has been on a committee that they've gone stale on, or, the longest anyone would have been on a committee is Sean's Recycling or something like that.
Maybe we should set a policy from this point forward that you can stay on a committee for at least 2 years before we switch them up if you want to be there. Because a year to me doesn't seem long enough, to get going and to build those relationships. The second year, in my opinion, would be the one that you really start to roll. if we keep switching them every year.
I think a 2-year after tonight would be fine. You know, it's just one of those that, you know, for myself, it's like, and I'll be honest with you, the board I'm interested in, Susan, is Target. I've always had a background in economic development. I work in economic development every day. You know, I'm looking to grow a business. I'm gonna grow the business I'm in currently.
You're
And
the
so for me,
alternate.
I am the alternate.
I'm sure they wouldn't object to
And
you
I
showing up.
wouldn't, and I wouldn't mind if we switched. If we went from Target, where I served as your alternate for a year, and then you could serve as mine for a year.
Which one of yours?
Target, you could take the alternate.
Oh,
we could-
the
yeah.
alternate.
Because, you know, they do that in the county all the time, where they will switch off, you know, a county commissioner will take the chairmanship of a committee for a year, and then they will switch back down to vice chair.
Well, after the second year, okay.
I think we start tonight, and then after 2 years, we can switch back.
As Cindy said, I've had a year to learn. I'm trying to be more active. And I don't know. I'd have to start all over again.
And with all due respect, there's, you know, everything I think you've done is good to this point, but it's just one of those where, you know, I feel that I've got a lot to give to that committee, and I just feel that, you know, that's something that I'm very strongly interested in.
I see.
You know? So with that being said,
Is that the only one you're interested in changing?
the only other one that I had an
Besides
interest in was either the recreation board from Councilman Eiler or the retirement board. I think I could add value to both of those.
You
Anyone
can
else?
have the retirement board if you want, but I was kind of looking forward to the rec board.
Okay. Would you be willing to draw?
Draw a picture of you.
Yeah. For me, it was a year ago that, you know, I pretty much, I sat back and I wanted to learn everything I possibly could. And after you're here for about a year, for me, it was just one of those things where I thought.
We might have
I
something
definitely
here,
wanna-
hold on, because if she's you said retirement board, you wanted to keep rec board.
I would like to get on.
I was gonna give you my seat on the retirement board. But that would just give you 2 seats, so.
That might not work out.
And if we did this tonight, then it'd be 2 years on the rec board is what you've got an interest in. Is that what you're, you know, I'm just trying to understand exactly what you're proposing. Currently, the policy is, if I understand it correctly, we do this every year where we kind of come in and
Yeah, we just kind of
put them out there and say
talk
we're
about it
an
and
interest in.
figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to draw?
Yeah, because I don't, because right now, you're on the Historic District, the Alpena County Central Dispatch, IG Public Safety, Policies and Procedures Visioning Committee, and the Clear Target Market. See, I want my seat back on the Clear Target Marketing Committee, but I don't know if I have anything that you would be interested in. Unless Cindy wants to keep her retirement board seat, that, assuming that she's, basically has Eilers right now. I mean, I would take a seat on the Clear Target Marketing Visioning Committee and not even have to bother trading, because I'm really not on that many boards that meet. Does anybody's IG committee meet? Yours does, roads.
Public 911.
Yours meet?
Yeah. the
Well, that's not
Alpena-
IG.
yeah, That's
Oh,
not IG.
no, that's not IG.
Yeah, we haven't had the public safety one, the central dispatch board meets.
I'm not even sure if they even exist anymore under the current.
No.
Not the way that.
Sean needs to get off the roads committee because he can't make those meetings. So
Right.
if somebody wants on that one, that's an intergovernmental.
But back to, if you're interested in that Clear Target Market visioning, Mayor, I'd be happy to do that. And then
You want anything I have? Are you interested in natural resources? I didn't mean it to come out that way.
Say no, Mike.
No. Well, see, everyone is entertained again this evening.
You know, that, in fact, I'll tell you, allow Councilman Johnson to take the Recreation Board.
That's not a
Would you-
mayoral appointment, or a.
Yeah, if you, and I'll take your natural resources, as I'm just trying to explain different choices, but if you wanted to
Am I required to sit on the retirement board?
No, two council are.
Just two council
Yeah,
persons?
I asked Jim about it, see if we can get it together.
Well, let's knock out an easy one. The IG roads meets when I'm teaching, so I could never make it. Made it once because we were on break. So I need somebody to sit in on that, and it's what it sounds like. Right now, they're pretty involved with 32. I'm taking a look at
What time do they meet?
I was gonna say.
11.
What's the time, Rich, when they usually meet?
Usually they're Thursdays at 10, this Thursday's gonna be Thursday at 9. And we meet quarterly, approximately.
Right now, they're also looking at the comprehensive transportation plan that was done, about 10 years ago? And reviewing that and seeing what may need to be updated on that.
You might like to.
I'd rather not have another daytime. I've got a few already with DARE is a daytime meeting, retirement board is a daytime meeting. I'd rather not pack another one in there if I don't have to.
I'll take that one.
IG roads.
What?
And did you give me your clear target marketing?
Yes.
Okay, did you get that?
So.
We do have a couple simple ones.
Mike's
marked
gonna
out.
do the retirement board, and you're gonna do the clear target marketing, yep.
Yeah. Is anyone interested in the Natural Resources Visioning Committee? I can stay on it.
That's one of our internal ones.
It's one of the internal, me,
Yeah.
Mike Lewinsky, Jeff Shea. Am I right? There's probably a fourth, but I can't recall.
What? I don't, when do they meet and that sort of thing?
It's not a regular scheduled
It's
meeting.
not a regularly scheduled meeting.
Greg sets that up.
It's we just set it up and it's been a while.
The other question that comes up with all those visioning is, it's been, I don't know how many years, since we did that visioning, as to whether the council wants to, go back, take that up again and revisit it and go through possible, visioning process. We would have to do that after July, because it's not budgeted for this year, but we could look at doing that, in which case, of course, all this would be somewhat in flux. if
What's
we
not
were going
budgeted?
to do that visioning before last time it was done, they hired a facilitator to help actually go through that process. So if we wanted to do that, and I think that's the best ways to have an outside facilitator, would be to, budget that with the next budget, and then go through that process again.
Is there a document for each of those committees that actually documents what their purpose is and what their, see, that's the worst part about it.
It's in the visioning statement, I think. They broke them down.
But that's all, that's just in the
Right.
statement itself. So they
In
kind of
your
left to
cap
the
or
committee
back.
to kind of do what, if they want to take any kind of action or do anything, I guess, then they kind of, that's where that would do the target market. That's kind of where we ran around with the idea of having new, I don't know what you call those.
Digital signs.
The signs coming into the city, and we kind of fell short of.
Well, if you want to, what I
Things like
can
that.
do with everybody is I'll work with Karen, we can put together really what the statement of purpose of each of those committees. Maybe not deal with that tonight, there's no rush to absolutely do those. And we could then get that out to you, and then you can look at it and decide. And again, if we want to go back and revisit the process, update what the council did 5 or 6 years ago, that would begin to change things, but at least get you that information, and we can do that and have it to you for the before the next meeting.
As well as I remember it happening. Was it a costly project?
I
How much does it
I'm gonna
cost?
see, 4,000 or 5,000.
Because we did it in what, 1 day or 2 days?
2
at-
weekends.
At the, at ACC there.
And we never had visioning committees before that.
Yeah.
They were just subcommittees broken off on the goals that the council had met, or had set. You know, maybe the next facilitator won't recommend those type of things.
Let's just, well, we'll put that into the future a little bit as
Yeah,
far
we
as
can bring that back to you.
We'll at least give you that breakdown of what those, what each of those committees'
Yeah.
purposes.
All right, let's try and get through this so we can move on. Cindy, are you comfortable with everything else that
Yes, I'm fine.
Councilman Eiler had? So we're really just basically down to whether there's going to be a shift in target and how you guys want to handle that.
Target, and I think Cindy had an interest in recreation committee.
But I'm already on it.
She's already on it by
If I take
If you take
Sam.
that, well, and see, and I put down, I have an interest in that, or the retirement board.
Oh, okay.
I said you could have a retirement board, but you took Matt's retirement board.
I took Matt's retirement
he-
board. Did you give up your
There has to be
retirement?
two
board?
people.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
I'm gonna do
following.
one here.
Yeah, unless you see an issue with two brand-new people on a board at the same time, I don't know. Of course, I would always be welcome to come in, I suppose, as a observer of sort, but
No,
I don't know if that-
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
To have a lot, you know, it's gonna be a learning curve.
yeah, it was for me as well. So maybe it'd be best for more of us to learn how that operates.
So who's doing the retirement board?
I've got Cindy and Mike
Like,
so far.
and there are 2 seats on it, so that's fine. The Recreation Committee, so if I understand correctly, Cindy has it, you would like it,
I'm interested in
and
it.
you're interested in it.
I'm interested in it. You know, and honestly, it's like, my primary interest is in Target. If I won the Target seat, I would probably say that, either.
You don't want it all,
No, I'm not gonna be
And
one of
this-
those that, says I have to have it all.
Correct me if I'm wrong, this is a recreational commission, because we have several in the area. This is actually called, what is it actually called?
Is this the county one?
Is this the county one, or is this the city?
This is the county, which has been less active over the last couple of years, especially once the county became much more involved with the ice arena and also the millage that was passed, the recreation millage.
I thought that expires though, doesn't it?
Yes, that'll be coming up, I think, maybe this year for renewal.
It's gonna be back.
But that's the same committee that makes the recommendations.
I'm not sure if
to-
that's the same one or not, or if it's, I thought it was its own separate committee that makes the recommendations to the county board. For those groups.
It's the Alpena Area Recreation Commission.
It's to advance recreation opportunities countywide.
Countywide.
Kind of focused on Northern Lights Arena lately, or the last few years, but it's supposed to be more comprehensive than that. Big, the big,
I would propose that we
30-some people.
never withdraw for Target. I'm interested in doing that.
I think it's fair enough.
Mayor pick?
I'm good with that. Yourself for the mayor, whoever you.
Oh, it's one or the other, so they're both
Yeah,
in
their
there?
names are on there.
Did anyone check to make sure you
You
didn't?
can open the second one later.
There's your new target board person is Nowak.
Good job.
Thank you.
I think that's fair enough, and then are we agreeing that, just as a professional agreement, that we will 2 years be able to sit on any board for a minimum of 2 years? So, should we choose? I mean, obviously, if you don't want to, or if you negotiate a trade of some kind, but
Yeah.
should we choose, we'll just go from 2 years.
I'm good if we're good with that.
Serve a term of at least 2 years.
I would also say then with me being on the Target board, then the recreation board, I would, gladly.
So you don't overdo
I
it?
would- Yeah, I don't want to overdo it.
Mayor, these committees historically were 2-year committees. Mayor Shafto really
Oh,
I
so
don't want to
that's,
say pressed upon the rest of council, but they were always 2-year appointments.
oh, okay.
And then,
Because I saw that there were a couple that actually had expiration dates on them.
And it was pretty rare when people, got off of a board
Right.
earlier than that.
and the thought really was, I think, that, especially for new members, it's going to take you a little while, especially when you're only meeting quarterly on some of these. It takes you, 3 or 4 meetings to get up to speed and, know what everybody else is thinking and to be able to rationally discuss the issues and to have insight and to, I guess, learn what the committee's all about. And so, being on there for 2 years makes much more sense, I think. But certainly, you're free to do whatever you want, whether you want to make them 1-year appointments or 2-year appointments, but they were 2-year appointments for a long time.
I'm not gonna argue about it. I'm not gonna argue. Do as you please.
That's why I wanted to establish it before we started, that we knew how we were going to take care
I
of it.
thought we did that. I am interested though in the retirement board. Is there an additional seat there?
Just two.
Just two. And they were taken.
Correct. Unless, I think
Susan,
Cindy.
if you want to take that,
No. Are you already on it?
I'm on it and Mike's on it.
Okay. Go ahead.
And are you not gonna give Susan anything?
Susan does that. I don't have to have anything.
Because I'll
We
give
did it
mine
fair
to
and square. I'm good.
I'm happy to give anything else up.
Now,
Such an
Susan,
interest.
do you want to be the alternate then on the target? Because
Yeah.
Mike was the alternate.
Okay. We can just switch.
Okay.
So, now am I assuming that we're all set for 2 years? We don't have to do this again next year?
Yeah,
Unless somebody wants to
if
get
nothing
off.
else, we'll just briefly review it to see if
Yeah.
anybody wants to change anything next year, but since we're on an off-election year, it'll be the same. All of us will be the same, so I think we'll just review it in a year just to see if anybody wants off. In the event someone's schedule issued or something like that, so that's fine.
And then all that visioning may go away or.
Yeah, or if we sit down and have visioning, we might get rid of some of these or change them, give them new focus. At the very least. And you're all set? You have a list?
Now, yeah, what we've done is we've done a motion on each person for their boards. So the first one is Walagora. And the motion, would be, he's got reappointment to DARE, the IG Communication, Natural Resources Visioning, Clear Target Market Visioning. MACNY and NEMCOG are his alternates.
Second.
Walagora,
Aye.
Johnson,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Nowak,
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
And then Johnson has the Recreation Commission, Retirement Board, IG Air Water Quality, Park Foundation, Natural Resources Visioning, Policies and Procedures Visioning, IG Roads, and you're the alternate on the recycling.
Second.
Johnson,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Nowak,
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
Walagora.
Aye.
Sexton has City Property, TB Sanctuary, IG Recycling, Economic Development Visioning, Building Strong Consensus Visioning, Northeast Michigan Recycling, MACNY, and he's the alternate on the Recreation Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Nowak,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Walagora,
Aye.
Johnson.
Yes.
Nielsen is on Hunt, Medical Marijuana, NEMCOG REDAC, Clear Target Market Visioning, Building Strong Consensus Visioning, and she's the alternate on the Thunder Bay Sanctuary and Target.
Second.
Noah,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Walagora,
Aye.
Johnson,
Yes.
Nielsen.
Yes.
Nowak is on the Historic District, the Alpena County Central Dispatch, IG Public Safety, Policies and Procedures Visioning, Retirement Board, Target, and that's it.
Second.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Nowak?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. And thanks for your patience. Everyone. Do that. All right, next on the agenda is the interlocal agreement with Green, Long Rapids, Maple Ridge, and Wilson Townships for non-transport advanced life support. Chief?
Good evening. About 6 months ago, we began a program called the ECHO program in western Alpena County. And really the catalyst or the person that really got that rolling was Township Supervisor Howard Lumsden of Long Rapids Township. And I asked him if he would come and say a few words tonight. Mr. Lumsden?
Good evening, council, members, mayor, city staff. I want to talk to you tonight about something that's very near and dear to me, and that's the medical care of people, pre-hospital care in Alpena County. Over the last couple of years, we've had more and more instances where the outlying townships, especially Green, Wilson, Maple Ridge, and Long Rapids, were not meeting our calls. We were missing calls. We were not getting enough response to out of our own area, so we were going to having mutual aid from other areas, delaying help to the people 15, 20 minutes at times. City county ambulance would be responding with paramedics. They would normally get there before we would get there if we were called mutual aid. So in May, a couple of us supervisors after a roads meeting was talking, and we'd had a month where we had missed many, many calls. I think every call Long Rapids went on was in some other township, and they had made the calls in our township. And we said, we need to do something. We need to do something now. So they asked me if I would make contact with Chief Furbush from the city. And so I went home, and we were looking to hire someone, set up our own echo unit, just get somebody during the daytime that would respond. I went home the next day and made a call to Chief Furbush. Within a few minutes, he offered the solution of the city echo unit, the paramedic unit. Told him I didn't think we could afford it, but we gladly talked to him about it. And about an hour later, he called me back with a proposal, and sounded very good. So we headed up a meeting in Long Rapids Township with the firemen, some fire chief, fire department personnel, township officials, and Bill Furbush, Chief Furbush and I. That was in June, I think. Had a good meeting. Everybody was in agreement. Very good intergovernmental function. And left that meeting that night with some homework for Chief Furbush to do, and for us to go back and talk to our boards, and we would get back together. When I contacted Chief Furbush, I figured 6 months to a year to get something up and going. We met again on the 2nd of July, had some answers brought back to us that we needed, and everybody had got with their boards. Chief Furbush had talked with city staff, and before we left that night, we decided at 8 o'clock next morning we were going to start an echo service in the 4 townships. Started on the 3rd of July. We have basically 8 hours daytime coverage on weekdays. It's worked out wonderful. We basically started the service, I tell people out our way, we basically started the service because we weren't meeting our legal and moral obligation to get somebody to the scene. When I see now, after being with the paramedics and talking with them and Chief Furbush, the level of care that we're now bringing to the western half of Alpena County has risen tremendously. We're bringing the emergency room out to them 10, 15, 20 minutes sooner than they're getting with the ambulance. So tonight, I know you are considering the agreement, finalizing it, and I would like to thank the city, the council, the staff, and compliment them on the great fire department and city, county paramedic service that you are providing. You have the greatest leader that I know of, very knowledgeable in EMS, he's very well thought of throughout the state. And the paramedics that have been coming out to our fire hall are so professional, courteous, and well-trained. Nothing but compliments from the people. And on behalf of myself, Long Rapids Township, and I'm sure Maple Ridge, Green, and Wilson, I just want to say thank you for your spirit of intergovernmental cooperation. I think Governor Snyder should be very proud of us, what we've accomplished here in Oakland County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Howard.
There isn't anything I can add to those comments. It's been a very, very successful partnership. Certainly one of the crown jewels, if you will, of intergovernmental cooperation, and that involves the city, the county, and 4 different townships, and has resulted in some significant saves and situations where much faster advanced life support has been available in that area. So what I'm looking for from you folks tonight is I'm recommending approval of the interlocal agreement with Green, Long Rapids, Maple Ridge, and Wilson Township to continue to provide non-transport advanced life support for their communities. The costs of the program are covered half by the county and half by the townships. And so it really is a great intergovernmental cooperation.
Awesome. Thanks. Just a congratulations and a thank you to you, Bill, and Howard and the other townships, and most certainly to our paramedics. And I'm sure you can take that back to the house for us. Very seldom do we see something go together like this in such a short period of time. And be successful as well. If anyone has any questions for Bill, we had the literature over how it's broken down through the townships and whatnot.
No, I just would like to make a comment too, is that, it's one of the things that I've always talked about to other members as well, is that the cooperation level is incredible. This is exactly what local government, in my mind, is for: public safety. I've always said it, I'm always going to support it. I will always support a strong fire department and how we can assist other departments throughout our entire community, and a strong police department as well too. So thank you for the work that you both have done on this. I think this is fantastic.
Thank you for your support.
I move we approve the intergovernmental agreement for non-transport advanced life support services.
A proud second.
Walter.
Aye.
Johnson.
Yes.
Nielsen.
Yes.
Noah.
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, next up, interlocal agreement with Alpena County and countywide ambulance service.
This one also I can be even briefer with. We've been providing countywide ambulance service for Alpena County for a number of years. It's time to renew that agreement. In the past times were a little bit better, and so the agreement was perhaps a little bit fairer. This time, times are not good, and so it's essentially flat. However, we'll hold steady with our current rate that was in the previous agreement for 2013. There is a provision for an automatic annual increase of up to 2% if millage income exceeds revenue. If we are turning around, which I believe we are, and others believe we are, it may very well be that ends up being more than what the original base was. But the base rate will remain the same. The other highlights of the agreement primarily are there are two ambulances that will be replaced, funded by the county during this agreement. The first one this year, the next one in 2016. The county will now pay up to $10,000 a year cap for restocking fees charged by the hospital for drug boxes. That's something that they started 2.5 years ago or so. It was a new fee that wasn't there when the last contract was negotiated. And it runs an awful lot of money. that previously the city had to pick up because the medications, of course, are disposable and there was no restocking fee previously. Under the new agreement, the county will pick that up, and so we're appreciative of that. The department began a free continuing education program for the first responders throughout Alpena County almost 3 years ago now. The contract calls for us to continue that, and we were doing it anyway, so there really isn't much of a change. And we did some cleanup language just to reflect the current nomenclature. Some of the old contract had some references to public safety director and deputy fire chief positions that we don't have anymore. Other than that, it's a good agreement, it's a fair agreement. Mr. Sundin and I had the opportunity to work together in negotiating it, and we feel pretty confident with it. So what we're looking for tonight is to answer any questions, and if you agree with us, we'd like to have you approve it.
Chief has this, went to the county.
Yes, the county ambulance committee approved it earlier in the month, and on December 27th, the full board approved it.
And you're satisfied with the parameters?
Yes, sir. Given the current economics, about the best we can get.
Yeah, it was pretty long, so I got about halfway through it and said, well, some days you just trust your staff. I'm sure that the both of you have gone over it and the county has as well, so.
Yes, sir, we have.
I can't honestly say that I read the whole thing word for word, so if it provides the care and fairness as far as contracts go, I'm comfortable.
We're honored to be able to continue to provide the service to the county. We end up being kind of a half city, half county entity providing service to the whole community. We've done it for a number of years. We're very proud to have the opportunity, and we try very hard to provide excellence and service everywhere, both in the city and outside.
Good.
I move we approve the interlocal agreement with the Alpena County for countywide ambulance service.
Second.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So on the docket.
I need a motion to.
I move that we adjourn to closed session.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson?
Yes.
You are watching All About Alpena.